Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Knights of the Alternate Histories, and in today's video we're going to be continuing the 1000 subscriber special with Part 3, the Mexican-American War, Second Mexican-American War. Now, if you haven't caught up in the lore, please watch the other videos, but basically the United States got divided over a pandemic, and now the states are trying to unite with each other, or trying to go with war each other and take each other over, but here is the actual map, and while Mexico has already taken some land, they want more. I mean, California is right up for the taking, because after years of wars, it's now just a wasteland. And Deseret and Texas might have some fight, but everything might just be okay for them, because overall, it will be alright, but maybe it won't. Now, Mexico would start off by invading the lower half of California. This would be relatively easy because, once again, it would become a wasteland by this time. Most cities would be level or abandoned, as Jefferson and Deseret would have gained their populations. But something is happening. Mexico is starting to take its armies off of the borders and moving them up to try and support this war against California and take them out before any other state can react. Now, Texas and Deseret would have made a deal. The deal was mentioned in the first video that they would invade Mexico. But the time is now. With Mexico taking its troops off of the borders to support this war of California, it would be the perfect opportunity to strike and get rid of the southern threat to both of them at once. And, being relatively lenient with each other, they would take the opportunity. Now, this would create a bubble effect with the majority of Mexican armies would be added into this small bubble, so Deseret would try and push down and take them out. Meanwhile, Texas would try and do what they did in the first Mexican-American War, and if they could get to Mexico City soon enough, they would be able to win. But Mexico would still have its fair share of problems logistic-wise. Now, Deseret would be able to separate Baja California, and Mexico's logistics would be a nightmare, already trying to send enough supplies to take over California, hoping that once they take out California, they can just swipe up and hopefully march through the desert if they have enough supplies. But it would be too late now, as their ships would now be accessed for the Texas Navy, who would start coming for them. The bubble would continuously start to expand, with Deseret trying to cut off it from Lower California, so the few supply boats that do make it through can no longer get to the actual army. But now the Texan army would be on the hill, and the Mexicans' logistics is gone. The Texas and Deseret logistics would be pretty well, with Deseret using half of its army to defend California and the other half to try and push it in. Now, Los Angeles, being really the only developed part left of California, would just kind of become a single round and would be the last bubble. And once this popped, Mexico would fall. They would send what's left of their navy to try and evacuate the troops for the defense of the capital, but overall it would be futile, with more navy and more firepower sinking them. Now, the Mexicans would give a heck of a fight, but once it gets taken, it's over. California would now just become a puppet state of Utah, whose army would conveniently stick around and put in a friendly government to Deseret. And as the war continues to stirs on, fearing Mexican retaliation, each of the states that fought would get their own buffer state. Now, Deseret would finally get sea access, being its biggest concern, but they would also get a nice puppet state of Northern Sierra, and Baja California would become an independent country. Not a puppet state, but an independent country. Meanwhile, Texas would get New Mexico, or they would just name it North Mexico, and California would be left as a puppet state, but this would be a staging ground. Now, Deseret would want to be friendly with the Northwestern Territories or Washington, and Jefferson would be a big problem. So, using Californian immigrants, they would send them to California to fight in the army to take back over California. Washington, of course, would want Lower Oregon, and Jefferson would finally fall. But now they would be under the rule of Utah, and Washington would be a strong... Now, slowly through the thick forests would be the main problem. Deseret wouldn't get directly involved because then the other states would know, and they kind of want to keep their rule of California a secret, even though it would be pretty obvious. But it still would be an image to show it. Now, California would try and push up to try and get the most land, while Washington would just kind of be happy with over. Now, Jefferson would be developed a culture by now. It would be a strong culture, and they would fight back. But they just couldn't handle the armies of Deseret and Washington, which have been saving up just for this moment. Meanwhile, the other states would kind of look on, and Texas would get a little bit worried with Deseret's expansionist goals. But overall, it would be fine, as they still were allies for at least one video, and maybe they could keep it off. But this would begin the rising tension between Texas and Deseret as the last slips of Jefferson begin to fall, and the border would have to be decided and trying to get drawn on. But it still wouldn't do that well, as Jefferson, a small state, would get destroyed. Now, California wouldn't get its territory back. Washington would get a bit more, but this would be to appease them and to stop the rioting of Jefferson, as Southern California would still be kind of remembering Southern Jefferson, and Northern Jefferson would want to stick with it. It would be a better fit for both of them. But Deseret would make a new deal with Texas, and the invasion would begin. The Northwest California territory, the Texas, and Deseret would all invade Nebraska territory. This would be to try and destroy them. Now, as both of them try and fight, it would be basically over. This would be a race to try and get to the finish line. The armies would be stretched thin, but they were still able to give a fight. Knowing that they wouldn't stand a chance anyways if they tried to protect the area, simply they'd build forts and hope that their corn would last them. But as soon as these forts start to fall and the army's gone, it's a race to see who can get the most territory. Of course, there would be a political discussion, but it would basically be whose army controls what territory. Texas, of course, would want to get the most territory and stop Deseret. Now, the Nebraskan territory would quickly just slows in. They would officially surrender, and the armies would keep on marching to try and keep on getting the territory. This could lead to some war crimes, and overall Deseret wouldn't be that well as Texas generals' war crimes. So, pretty bad to commit war crimes, guys. Now, the new map would be like this, and yes, it would basically be divided in the middle. Texas would have wanted more land and more of the big cities, and the Northwest Territory would be pretty happy for what it's got. But the Texas-Utah rivalry, or Texas-Deseret rivalry, would begin, and overall, it would start to begin to unravel and unwind until eventually it would prepare to collapse. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed. 2 more episodes of the series, and I'm pretty excited for them, so I hope you guys like them too, because overall, it is pretty fun. And I really like doing YouTube, so thank you guys for supporting me. Like, subscribe, and join the Reddit, because it would be pretty fun. And I hope you guys liked the video, because it was overall pretty fun. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, because it was pretty epic. Now, you might ask, who am I? Because I don't sound like Knights of the Old Histories. Or I totally do. Anyways, the annoying fact is that I'm totally the Knights of the Old Histories. And you guys should click the video on the left or click on the video on the right. I don't know, I was just told to read